Unreal. Okay, the reason I am here today is because I made God a promise about a year ago. I said, God, if you can get me through a crazy storm in my life, something that was so difficult for me, I would do exactly this. I want to share my story. So thank you for letting me be a part of that and hearing me out. I wouldn't say it's really a testimony. It's just something that was a really, really hardship in my life. And I believe this. I'm going to tell you this, that there's people in this room that need to hear what I'm going to say. I really do. Same thing with Ben. There's people in this room that, whether it's you directly or a friend or a family group, there's people in this room that need to hear this message. I want to give you a little quick background about myself really quick, and then I'm going to go right into it. So I'm a high school phys ed teacher. I absolutely love my job. Like, I love it. I get in there and play dodgeball and, like, chirp kids and, like, go for headshots, and I get, like, jacked up. I love working out with my classes. I'm blessed. I absolutely love what I do. I have 4 beautiful kids. I have 2 in high school that I get to teach. They're in my classes. So I teach a leadership class and a fitness class, and my boys are grade 11 and 12. They're in my class. I love hanging out with them. But let me give you what my Christian life was. I hate to say this, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I was very much a lukewarm Christian growing up. If you don't know what that means, first off, it's dangerous waters to be in. A lukewarm Christian is somebody maybe that goes to church on Sundays, for an hour. Maybe they sing a couple worship songs and then they get out of there because they're going to go watch football and they're going to get on with their week. What I realized after this year is I was not living for God at all. I was super bitter in my life. I had tons of resentment. I had resentment and bitterness and relationship issues with even my own family. It was super, super tough. And I think God, he just said, you know what, man, I'm going to shake you up a little bit. I valued money. I valued stuff. I valued possessions. It was all about me first. That's how I lived my life. It was very much selfish. And it's really sad to say, but that's who I was. So let me tell you something. December 15th, and you know what, like Ben knows, like you know dates, man, because it blows your mind. December 15th, my life changed dramatically. I was in a fitness class. I was working out with my guys, and something wasn't right. I just could feel something wasn't right with me. I couldn't describe it. I couldn't describe it to anybody. I couldn't explain it. All I knew that it was really, really scary. The next night, I didn't sleep. I slept 0. I don't know if you guys know what that's like, but I actually slept 0. It was really, really restless. I started to get dizzy. I started to get really weak. It happened again and again and again. And I swear to you, I went 13 consecutive nights with 0 sleep. And I fell apart. My body was broken. I lost 30 pounds. I couldn't eat. I couldn't put a fork to my mouth. I would fear the night. I would fear the day. I was ridiculously anxious about the next step in my life. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. It's like they do these things. They put people through this for like torture camps. I don't know. There was no explanation, no reason why I wasn't sleeping. I went to doctors. I had to stop work. First off, I told you I love my job. I had to stop work. I couldn't function. This was what it would be like. This was like the highlight of my day. If I could crawl out the driveway to greet my kids off the bus, that would be the highlight of my day because that's all I had left in the tank. It was awful. It was my first taste of actual mental health. If somebody told me about mental health before this situation, I would have been like, guys, like, what are you talking about? What is mental health? If they said, anxiety, like depression, I'd be like, hey, get over that, like, move on. That's what my attitude would have been. Guys, I'm telling you that I experienced it firsthand. I've never felt anything like it. I felt like, when I say depression, somebody just fire out a word. What does it mean when I say depression? Just fire it out. Go ahead. Sadness. Anything else? Darkness. Okay. This is crazy, but this is what happened. My wife started to get really, really nervous, and she was taking me to multiple hospitals and specialists and stuff like that. And yeah, congratulations, Brady. This is the doctor looked at me and said, listen, based on what we've got from you, you are classified as severely, severely depressed. You're like in the 2 percentile of like the most depressed people ever. I've never had an experience like this. I've never had a smidgen of depression in my life. I was failing living. I was suffering. It was a nightmare, guys. And you know what else I didn't believe in before? I really didn't. I didn't think spiritual warfare was a thing. It's a thing. I would pray for a hedge of protection over my head before I tried to sleep. And I'm telling you, I experienced spiritual warfare in this nightmare that I was living. I call it a nightmare. It was, this is what I described to people when I was like listening to like the lies that were like, you're not good enough. You can't get back from this. This is the end of you. And I really, truly believed it. I thought that was it. I'm in trouble. I'm at the end of my rope. I felt like I was living in a shell and watching my entire life go by. It was the hardest experience I've ever had to be a part of. I remember, this is hard for me, guys, to explain to you. I remember laying on the floor because that's all I would do. I really would. I would lay on the floor for 10, 12 hours a day, and I was withering away. I had nothing. I couldn't give anything. My kids would come to me, and they would like, can't wait to see Dad. I just want to see if he will smile today. Can he smile today? And I couldn't. I really couldn't. I had tears in my eyes all the time. I was crying all the time. It was the most brutal depression that I can't even, like the description, I can't even describe to you guys how low I was. I was at rock bottom in my life. I remember laying on the floor with my wife, which woman, she is a rock star. This girl that I married, Jen, guys, you find yourself a good girl, okay? Because we're not promised lollipops and rainbows. We're all going to go through a tough time. I had an amazing spouse that walked me through this, and she learned a whole lot. But I remember laying on the floor, probably at 3 a.m, and I looked at her and said, Jen, I can't do this anymore. I really can't do this anymore. And she said, like, yes, you can, man. We're praying every day. We're going to get you through this. And I said, Jen, I think I'm done. Guys, it's really hard for me to tell you this, but at that moment, I wanted to take my life. I really didn't want to be here anymore. And I mean, that's hard for me to say out loud to you guys. It's hard for me to look my wife in the eye at 3 a.m. and say, Jen, as much as I love you and I love our 4 kids, I just don't have it anymore. I can't take it. I can't take the spiritual attacks. I can't take this blanket of depression that's sitting on me and just smothering me. I have nothing left in the tank. I have nothing to fight with. I went to the doctor. She took me to this, I can't even keep track of them. There was a psychologist and a psycho, whatever, lots of words, fancy things. And I remember the guy saying to me, he says, we need to keep you here for a couple weeks. Because, and my wife, she supported that. She said, I don't know what this guy is going to do to himself. I really don't. And the doctor looked up in the eye and said, do you have a plan that you want to end your life? And I said, yeah, I do. I do have a plan. And, man, you know how hard that is to say that out loud? Like, that's really hard to say that I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be here. So I had to tell the doctor that. And he said, okay, listen, you have 2 choices. You can go home or you can stay here and we can try to get you on some different medicine. We can help you do this stuff. And I was like, I just had this come over me, and it was like, God said, like, go home. He's like, go home. I got this. You can go home. Do I think God was trying to punish me through this experience? A lot of people ask me that. Do you think you were like getting punished through this experience? I begged God every single day, guys, to take this burden from me, to take this absolute depressive pain from me. He didn't. I think what he was doing to me, he was getting me to a place where I was 100% relying on God. If he knew that I was so darn stubborn that if he gave me 2% of me, I'm like, I got this. I can do this. I don't need God. He wanted me to get a place of absolute brokenness so that I would 100% rely on him. He got me to that point. I had nothing left to fight for. I had nothing in my tank whatsoever. I tapped out. I gave up. I didn't want to be here anymore. I think God was trying to show me a couple things. I'm going to go really quick with these, and I'm going to tell you how this story ends, okay? The first thing I think God was trying to show me is who to lean on. My family was amazing, man. My family was like, I have the best family. I have the best mom and dad. I have an amazing brother and his wife, Megan. My 4 kids are amazing. We're super close. My wife, God said to me, hey, these guys are not your rock. You want these guys to be your rock. They're not your rock. I want to be your rock. There's a verse that says, trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the eternal rock. God wanted to be my rock. I needed to rely on him 100%. I was praying, guys. I had nothing left to do but lay on the ground and pray that God would take this from me. I begged him day and day to take this from me. The second thing I think he wanted to tell me, I was at 4 in the morning because I don't sleep. 4 in the morning, I get this vision in my head that is a crown. I'm like, crown? Why is God want, like, what's a crown? So I nudged my wife and I was like, Jen, you got to look up, like, what's the Bible say about a crown? She's like, the only thing I can find is this, James 1:12, blessed is the one that perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person received the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Guys, I was persevering a trial that I humanly could not do myself. I couldn't. I really couldn't. Can somebody answer this to me? What is beside the biggest valley? The highest mountain, that's right. I was in the lowest spot of the lowest valley. And God kept saying to me, look up, man. The highest mountain's in front of you. Look up. I got you. And it was a journey, and it was the hardest thing I had to do. But he kept me there for a really long time, and I think it was because he was trying to teach me things. The third thing I wanted to tell you is, which is it's so hard to do, is, and my brother, Marshal, would tell me this. He would be like, man, soak this in. And I was like, dude, are you crazy? Soak what in? Like, I'm telling you, I text him and call him and say, I don't want to be here anymore. I really don't. And he'd be like, dude, soak this in. Find joy in your suffering. Find joy in your suffering. James 1:12, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. I had to thank Jesus for my depression. I really did. Because if he didn't make me go through a season of depression, I would never have the relationship that I have now. God wasn't real to me for 20 years. He had to put me through absolute suffering to get to a point where I said, you know what? God is my rock. And I'm thankful that he put me through a situation in my life, a season that was so darn tough. I wrote a gratitude journal because counselor, whoever would say, like, when you're going through a really tough time in depression, try to combat depression with gratitude. So I would be like, man, and I would have such a hard time. I'd be like, thankful for, like, the sunshine. I'm thankful for family. And it was really, really hard for me to do, but I would dig deep and I would find stuff that I was thankful for. You know what I was most thankful for? That my 4 kids got to experience their dad 100% broken. My high school kids got to see their dad in tears laying on the floor, broken before God. I love that, man. I'm so thankful for that. My daughter came to know the Lord during this time. She came to me and said, Dad, I want a relationship with your Jesus as well. My boys cried on my shoulder and prayed to God out loud, Dad, God, take this from my dad. I want my dad back. I need my dad back. My daughter, little Brooklyn, she's a prayer warrior, this girl. Side note, it's really hilarious. Nobody wants her to pray for supper because she'll pray for like 7 minutes. So we're all like starving and looking at the food, and she'll be like, I'm praying for like my neighbor Ella, and then I think that other girl, and then that one time we were playing soccer outside, we're like, my boys are going, dude, are you serious, Brooklyn? Are you going to reel it in? This girl is a prayer warrior. Every single night she would pray for me, and she'd run down the stairs as fast as she can, and she'd look at my door and go, Dad, did you sleep tonight? And she could see in my eyes that it wasn't a good night. I didn't sleep. And day after day, night after night, she would come to me and be like, Daddy, did you sleep? Did you sleep? And she kept saying to me, Dad, I believe that God's going to heal you. He's going to take this from you. It was unreal, man. Like, I'm talking a little girl had the faith was unbelievable. I learned from my family. We had real prayer together, like real prayer together. And it would never happen if I didn't get through a season like this. Like Ben said, miracles happen. I remember leaving the hospital in a snowstorm with my wife, and she kept saying to me, are you sure you want to go home? And I said, yeah. She said, this doesn't make sense, man. You just told the doctor and me out loud that you have a plan that you want to end your life. I said, I know, Jen, I know, but I have this feeling that like God is with me. He's telling me I got to get out of here. So I went home, and I remember talking to my dad and saying, Dad, do miracles happen anymore? I read in the Bible that, Moses with all the Israelites, the Egyptians and Pharaoh are chasing them as fast as they can. And they're going all the way to the Red Sea. And they're coming, and Moses and the Israelites are like chilling. And these guys are like coming full speed with chariots, 600 chariots coming full. And he's like, God's like, I got this. What are you talking about? We're good. Miracles. What did he do, guys? Part of the Red Sea. Miracle. I thought miracles were way back in the Bible. Ben talked to you about a miracle. I left that hospital. We called in my kids in a room, and we said, guys, this is going to be the worst 2 weeks of Dad's life. He's basically going to withdraw off these drugs because doctors just kept trying new drugs. Hey, try this. This will work for anxiety. This will work for depression. I think you're really bad depression. Try this thing. And my body was going through a nightmare. I was getting thrown. I'm talking, it was a nightmare I was going through. So the doctor said, brace yourself. This is going to be the worst 2 weeks of your life. So I told my kids, I said, hey, man, you guys, I just want you to know this is what you're expecting. This is what we're going to expect. I asked my dad to pray for a miracle, and I woke up the next morning, and I felt 100% better. It was an absolute miracle. I felt 100% better. Guys, doctors don't get the reward on this one. They said it would not happen. They said this guy needs medicine after medicine, 24 hours supervision. This guy's not right. He cannot go home. He hasn't slept in weeks. He can't do this. He can't do that. I woke up the next morning, and the first time Brooklyn comes running down the stairs, Dad, did you sleep? And I'm like, heck yeah, what? I slept. This is unreal. I felt like $1 million. I had a smile on my face. I was wrestling my daughter. I'm telling you that when you're in a blanket season of depression, you can't do that stuff. You want to. Your body doesn't do it. It's like a mental block that you can't do that stuff. It's very real. And I was getting like a little snapshot. God was giving me like a glimmer of hope that like, hey, man, I think you're ready. Do you guys know the story about Elijah? What do me and Elijah have in common? We were both suicidal. I hate using that word, but that's where we were. Elijah wanted to tap out. He sat under a tree, and he went into me and Elijah having kind of severe depression. We're in the 2 percentile. And he prayed to God, I just want to die. He prayed to God, he wanted to die. I fought with God every day for that for 4 months. We had the same conversation for 4 months. God was healing Elijah through a season of burnout, and he did the exact same thing for me. He was healing me to do what I love to do, to go back in the high schools with a different lens. I promised God that if he would see me through this trial, I would start to be compassionate for others that are going through a storm in life. I told God, if you get me through this journey, I will be a voice for people that are struggling with mental health. I'll be a voice for people that are struggling with severe depression, with anxiety that cannot cope. And then God goes, are you sure? Because I'm about to answer that. I had no idea what was coming next. I go back to the high schools because I finally get approval that I'm good to go. I've been sleeping. I'm feeling better. God created a lens in me that I saw high school students in my school totally through a different lens. That's the only way I can describe it. I saw brokenness. I saw depression. I saw despair. I saw people struggling. I saw people that were struggling mentally. I saw people that were in abusive relationships. And I didn't have to do anything. God brought these people to me. I have no idea how. It's crazy. I'd be sitting in my leadership class doing our thing, and I'd look back like, hey, guys, go for lunch, see you. And then I'd look over, and there'd be like a girl sitting there, and she's like, Mr. Burnham, can I come talk to you? I'm sure. She said, I want you to know that I'm really struggling with depression. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. I'm struggling with depression. I'm like, what? Why are you talking to me? Why do you think that I know anything about depression? We didn't have this conversation. How do you know this? The next day, I get a buddy of mine. His son tried to kill himself 3 times. 3 times. Narcan brought him back to life. And he got put in a psychiatric room for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to go visit him because my friend called me and said, hey, can you go speak to my son? So I went up to see him, and I just prayed with a man and hugged the kid while he was in tears and just said, like, God has a purpose for you, man. He really does. You can get through this because I got through this. You can do this. Guys, if I didn't go through that, how would I talk to this kid? How would I talk to this kid ever? I wouldn't be able to. I'm in a basketball game last week, eh? Man, my boys are on this team. They're really, really good. They're at the SWASA final game. Little mic drop brag moment. My kid's the leading scorer on our team. Yes, he's darn good. He snaps his ankle. We end up losing the game. He broke his ankle legit. And then I'm cheering, okay? Like, I talk trash during the game. I'm like a parent that, like, I get up and I'm like, what? Yeah. So, like, I get into it. And this girl comes up during the game. I'm sitting courtside. Like, my boys are playing. I'm zoned in. And she's like, hey, Mr. Burnham, can you pray for me? I'm like, what? I'm, like, cheering. I'm, like, fired up. My kid just shot a 3. No, seriously, can you pray for me? How do you know that I pray? Why do you think I'm going to pray for you? Like, how does God do that? I just don't understand that. God opened so many doors. My cousins were having an issue. And then something really cool, which I want to show you what I'm wearing right now, is my grade 12 leadership class. They without knowing my struggle whatsoever, they knew nothing about it because I just wasn't ready to talk to them about it. They said to me, hey, we want to do an initiative, and we want to do it with mental health. And I was like, what? Like, okay, cool. Like, you guys, is it all over me? Like, am I that bad? And I said, what do you guys want to do? And they said, we want to be a voice for people that can't be a voice. We want to help people in need, and we want to help people struggling. So they created a shirt that I'm wearing right now that says, reaching out is the first step, mental health matters. And then if you can read the back, that's what they wanted. They wanted that message to be shown to everybody. And this thing went crazy. They sold as a class. So 24 students sold 2,400 shirts that generated $36,000. And you know what we did, man? We went out and showed God's love. We would stand in Walmart and we would find somebody in need and we say, hey, man, we want to pay for your groceries today. No, I don't. It's not about a clap. It really is not. I just wanted to, we would go to a gas station and we say, hey, you know what? Can we pay for your gas today? And we have this budget. It's called the Act of Kindness that this money's in. We helped out 10 families in need for Christmas. We helped out kids that were in abusive relationships, parents. But these kids came up with this activity, and I am so thankful to God that He is using me for this. He put me in a high school to help kids with mental health, depression, suicidal, and I'm like ridiculously thankful for that. It's an honor for me to do that. And I want to leave you with this, okay? I got 3 lines for you. The first one is, people ask me this: what can I do for my friend? What can I do for my brother? What can I do for my dad? What can I do for my mom? What can I do for me if I'm struggling with this? 1 in 2 people in Canada will have a mental health issue. Those are the facts. So look to your left, look to your right. 1 in 2 people are going to go through this. Not, hey, I'm superstar, I went severe. So you're not going to be in the 2 percentile. Don't worry about that. Okay, I'm just saying that this is a thing, and I want it to be talked about. So I'm just going to give you a couple tips really quick. Just listen. Just listen. The highlight of my day when I was in the worst depression of my life and I would lay on the floor for 8 hours a day and couldn't get up is if I would get a text from somebody, one of my friends, one of my families, just to say, hey, we're praying for you today. I'm thinking about you today. Or they'd send me a verse. Where's Megan? Okay, Megan was a rock star. She was awesome. She would always reach out to me and send me just the verse at the time that I would need it the most, where I thought my life was coming to an end today, and I would get that one text, and I'd be like, man, I'm just going to hang on for one more day. I'm going to hang on for one more day and see if God's got this for me. So just listen, okay? Listen to your friends. Listen to what they have to say. Don't say, oh, I had a grandma from this. They don't care about that part of the story. They just want to be heard and know that somebody's there thinking of them. Storms are going to come in your life, guys. They really are. Storms are going to come in your life, your family's life. I want you to know this. This is what I'm going to end with, okay? So if the worship team wants to come up, I'm going to end with this. God has a plan for your life. God did not make a mistake with you. God created you. He didn't make a mistake on your life. One of my favorite verses, is, we're going to find it, is, one sec, where did it go? God will do the fighting for you. You only need to be still. I love that, man. If you're going through a tough time, God's got your back. And all you need to do is be still, and he'll see you through the other side. And I want to challenge you this. If you're going through a storm tonight, talk to somebody. Talk to your leaders. Talk to Marshall. I will stay and pray for you at the front of the stage. You guys have an amazing church here. You have amazing people. You have an amazing staff. You have an amazing group. You don't have to do this on your own. God tells us to come in community with others. That's what you guys are doing here tonight. You have staff that can help you. Guys, if you have a God, if you believe in God and you have a relationship with God, this guy is the biggest. He's created the world. He has your back. He's going to see you through this. So it's okay that you're struggling or you're going through a storm, because we're promised we are. Nobody said a Christian life is going to be easy. But I need you to know this. God will not ever stop fighting for you. Okay, that's what I want to leave you with. God will never stop fighting with you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Honestly, I feel blessed to tell my story. You guys rock it out. Thank you.